Hi, my name is Christina Hubbard. Thank you so much for looking at and listening to my Literacy Tutoring Project multimedia presentation. An icon to listen to audio will be found at the bottom right of each slide. My student that I worked with, her pseudonym is Jane, and she is a first grader, and she is a typical first grade student. She's very excited about school. She loves to participate in all activities. She's easily motivated and is very eager to learn more and is very active outside of school. Her family is very supportive and involved in the school. She has an older brother in second grade, and they do a lot of outdoor activities, and father works for the school district as well. She loves nature, animals, camping and fishing, other girly type things like butterflies, flowers. She does dance team outside of school, and when I was looking back at the limited information I have for her, I could look at her kindergarten testing, and she's always been considered a strong reader and not placed in interventions. And but she definitely, when you talk to her about reading, she wants to be better, and she's looking forward to chapter books and doing more things with reading and loves to read. In my initial assessments with Jane, my goal was to just find out as much about her reading skills and decoding and all of that as I could in a short amount of time. And so I used the core phonics survey, and that was really great. She was able to, her letter recognition and sound recognition was spot on, except for some long vowel sounds. And so we decided to move forward with a goal for her for focusing on the vowel digraphs E-E, E-A, A-I, and O-A long sounds. And then when I did the primary spelling inventory, it gave me the same information. And then when we were doing, I did a Dibbles oral reading fluency, which I'm not super experienced in, so that was a great help for me too to get more experience doing that. I noticed that with her reading, she was very word by word and not really, and just reading over some punctuation. So I knew that there would be some opportunities for some fluency and prosody in there, but I didn't want that to necessarily be the focus, because when I would ask her to do a retell, she was pretty limited in what information she would be able to retell, without a lot of prompts. So I felt like that would be a better use of our unit, was to work on some different comprehension skills and skills on learning how to do a retell and some practice in that, and how to find evidence in the text for when you're trying to tell, again, what you just read. I'm extremely fortunate in my building that our reading specialist is amazing and happens to be right next door to my classroom. So I had many opportunities to be able to speak with her and collaborate with her, which was so helpful. She gave me many great resources for finding word lists and word sort resources. Some, which Dibbles level should I start out with a student, and what, how do I make sure I'm incorporating the different multisensory types of instruction within my lesson plan. She gave me a great lesson plan template, run with it and use it, so I did. And I found it was a great benefit to myself as the instructor, as well as for my student, to follow the same basic script for all of the lessons, the patterns of how we would proceed through the different activities leading up to the comprehension and the reading passage towards the end. And that's where I would make the most changes. I would select each of the reading passages based on making sure that it was something that she was interested in, making sure it was something that I felt she could understand, that she didn't need a ton of background knowledge for, except for one. I wanted her to not have all the background knowledge, because I I wanted her to be able to pull evidence from the text directly, and that's in the final couple of lessons with the Amazing Whales text. And so I was really keeping a keen eye to make sure that the assessments made sense for her, and the formative assessments, and that they were continuing to build on her skills and reviewing what she had done in the previous lesson as well, so that she kept getting that practice, and that seemed to be a big benefit for her. And so that's how I use the assessments to inform my instruction. So in my pre-assessment, getting to know Jane, I was not surprised, since I know her in a different capacity, that she would be an eager learner, and she demonstrated that as well, even doing a simple alphabet sound checks. So she's very confident, she's eager, and she's good at using her decoding skills, sounding it out, taking it one letter, one syllable at a time. And if it wasn't right, a simple, "Are you sure? You want to look at that again?" She would make that self-correction if she hadn't already. And again, the long vowel digraphs was a focus of our instruction based on those pre-assessments, and seemed like that's going to be a natural area in the scope and sequence where she's heading anyway. And by the post-assessment, she's able to read those at a high learning target already, 80% or better. And then on the comprehension, so we did a couple of different things, where one was she was practicing a skill of cover, read, cover, retell, what you just read, so doing it in chunks. And that she seemed to enjoy doing that, and was building her confidence on being able to really do a really good retell. And then when we were working with other texts, she, again, was just, the more practice we had, the better she was doing. And so I anticipate that she's just going to keep building on her strong reading skills as we go, or as she continues on. So an additional observation I had about Jane was that during our practice together, we also spent time, there was a lot of teacher modeling of reading, and then her reading aloud was giving her lots of practice to think about how her reading sounded and work on her prosody. And she moved from being very word by word and reading over the punctuation to taking a minute to acknowledge punctuation, using character voice even in some quoted passages. And that was, it really just made such a difference, getting her to think about it as she was reading. And then I'm going to be delivering the results, the story of this literacy tutoring project to Jane and to her parents and her classroom teacher and the principal, just to let them know what we did and what the findings were, and that she's really on target. She's a very strong reader. I am very excited and feel very honored that I was able to work with her and see her make some gains. So that I'll be doing that in person, email, and a hard copy. I'll see her parent. Her dad usually is the pickup person, and that's my afternoon duty, is being in that area. So I'll be able to see all of those people in the next couple of days and share the information. Again, I just really want to express my appreciation for the reading specialist at our school, who was an amazing resource and a wonderful collaborator in helping me to find the best things that I could use, the best resources, the best assessment tools, and practices for formatting the lesson plans, everything. The coaching was so helpful, and she's so accessible to me that is really, she was one of my primary sources, and it really made such a difference for me to be able to get this underway and to do the best for my student that I could. Also, the experience doing this project and taking this course has been so eye-opening from someone who was outside of the reading specialist world. It was like, okay, I've heard of DRA, I've heard of this, I've heard of that, whatever it is, it's a number. But knowing now, having some experience with the wide-ranging assessment tools and strategies that are out there, the complexity surrounding how to properly analyze an assessment to see if it's worth doing or if it has any value in its cultural validity and its reliability, and all of those things has been super eye-opening. And I know that even having some conversations with some classroom teachers about, well, yeah, I just learned about this or read about this in my class, they're like, huh, what is that? So there definitely is a demand and a need for more instruction to teachers, and even if it's just a reminder or a refreshing look at, hey, let's make sure we're doing a comprehensive analysis of the tools we're using, and that we're not just doing them to do them unless, it's mandated by the district, but that we can, even if that's the case, that we take the steps necessary to envelop those with some other tools and things so that we get all of the information and all of the things that we need to make sure we're doing the right things for our students. So as I stated in the last slide, definitely eye-opening to the multitude of considerations that need to be made when working with such an important part of our students' education, is even just surrounding assessments and teaching strategies, that going forward, I would assume that the best things we can do for professional development opportunities would be to present this information again to our staff, and even going through the cognitive model, let's remind them, talk about it and why it makes sense. And then with regards to assessments, the different types of assessments, formative, summative, when to use them, when not to use them, and even within them, the different types of data, your qualitative and your quantitative, and how to interpret that data and use that to inform the instruction. Also, all the viability and reliability discussed, and also the importance of connecting authentic texts for our students, and the multisensory instruction, making sure it's tactile, auditory, visual, all of that because it benefits all students, and sharing specific literacy strategies out in a professional development, I think is always helpful. I know teachers always really appreciate that, seeing how something really works, and sharing success stories or even struggles they're having as an educator. I can't seem to get the student past this level. What you do, having those open conversations, I think is really important. And then communicating data and general information even about the literacy practices and within a school should be shared for the whole staff, so everybody is aware of what's going on across the district, so that building by building you can see what's working and what's not working. And then with our families, the students, of course, and the community.